Welcome back to Business 5303. I'm your instructor, Professor Awesome Shoes, here to talk about business anticipation. Sun Tzu once said, "If you know the business landscape, you can win the business strategy game." And today we're going to talk about the business landscape. So according to Porter's 5 forces model, we probably wouldn't be in this business at all because it's super competitive and the market's growing, but we know that everybody is gouging each other's eyes out to take market share away from one another. But because the exit costs are too high, we've already built factories, we didn't outsource, we have to stay in the industry. So we have to go with what we know, which is the shoe industry, and continue to gouge one another's eyes out. So let's take a look at why this industry is so tough. So you've got 4 categories depending on the market and also the product that you want to market. And ideally, you'd go somewhere where your competitors are not. However, we are in a rut where we are trying to sell existing products to existing markets. Now, all we have to work with is how we maneuver our business to try and bring down the cost and make our product at the same time more appealing. And everyone's trying to do the same thing, so that makes for kind of a difficult scenario. So again, we're selling existing products to existing markets. That's tough. So within that framework that we've established already, companies can have one of 3 strategies. They can have industry-wide differentiation, they can have industry-wide cost leadership, or they can focus on a particular segment. And of those 3 things, we can't really keep our costs any lower than anyone else because we're operating within the same confines. There's some things that we can do. We can upgrade our factories or produce a lot of shoes to try and reduce the cost per shoe. But no one's coming up with anything that isn't available to anyone else. So the other thing that you have is to have an industry-wide differentiator. Again, we're working with the same variables. We've boiled it down to a particular set of variables. We know what the competitors can do. Question is, will someone else mirror what that thing is? And finally, you can differentiate yourself. So among these 3 different generic strategies, we've determined kind of where other companies fit into that mold and also where we fit. Even though our variables may be limited, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And that's allowed us to see where different companies are focusing. And based on where they're focusing and what their decisions have been in the past, to build up a factory in a certain area or to sell capacity in another area, we can anticipate who is going to bid the lowest in the private market and who is going to bid the highest for the celebrities that they want. And then in general, we've been able to follow trend lines to see what the average is going to be for shoe products in different areas. America! We think that the Eclectic Shoe Company is going to take the lowest bid in the private label for North America. And this is why. They've done it in the past. They haven't given up on America. Thank you, Company E. So while we're in North America, wearing my camouflage still, let's talk about Oprah Letterman. So this is a celebrity that has extreme appeal in the North American market. And in the past, Company C purchased a contract with Oprah Letterman. The problem is Company C is a little bit of a wild card. They're a little crazy. So Company C, they kind of pay way above market value for celebrities that they think will help them. The contract expired. They probably won't renew it because Company C has all but abandoned the North American market. So again, going back to Company E, which still has a focus in the North American market, Company E has a significant reason to invest in Oprah Letterman and increase their value in the North American area. So we think it's going to be Company E with the highest bid for Oprah Letterman for America. Let's talk about Europe for a moment, shall we? So in the European market, we must keep in mind that we're not looking for the company that sells the most shoes or the best shoes, but we are looking for the company that sells the shoes with the lowest bid in the private label. And that's going to be Team Hyperfit. This is why. Team Hyperfit has done it in the past, and Team Hyperfit only sells a certain number of shoes in that market, but those few number of shoes that they are selling, they're willing to sell super mega cheap, so they're not left over with something in inventory. So while we're in Europe, let's talk about Bronco Mars. What a great name. But in addition to being a great name, he also has strong celebrity appeal in the European market. Bros Without Souls, although they aren't going to be the lowest bidder in the private label market, they do have a significant interest in that market for the wholesale. So we think that Bros Without Souls is going to bid high, like they have in the past, for other celebrities that are popular in the European market. Buenos dias, muchachos and muchachas. I'm here to tell you about the Latin American market. So the Latin American lowest private label bid will most likely go to the Bros Without Souls. And this is why. I think most companies are going to think it's the Eclectic Shoe Company because they've been the lowest bid in the past. However, the past is not the best indicator of the future necessarily. What we did pay attention to were investments made by the Bros Without Souls company, and based on limitations that we have in this business strategy game as to where we're allowed to make those investments and how much we're allowed to expand, we think that that expansion most likely went to the Latin American market. So Bros Without Souls, increased investment in the Latin American market, increased stake in that market. We think that they're going to do what they can to keep their cost low. With increased capability or an increased size in their factory in that market, they'll be able to make the shoes cheaper. Therefore, they will be able to charge less than the Eclectic Shoe Company did in the past. So that's Bros Without Souls for you. This is a traditional Filipino barong Tagalog because I'm here to tell you about the Asian Pacific market. So the Asian Pacific market, who's going to be the lowest bidder in the private label? That's going to be Infinite Shoes. This is why. Infinite Shoes has been a low bidder in the past. Even after Awesome Shoes totally came in and unexpectedly bid super low in that market for the private label in year 12, Infinite Shoes stayed there. They kept the course, so we think they're going to stay there again. We think that with the amount of demand that's in the Asian Pacific market and as little as they've charged in the past, they're going to be comfortable charging slightly more than they did last year in the private label, but they'll still be the lowest bidder. The next celebrity that I wanted to talk about were actually two celebrities, Ace Federer and Tiger Green. So we think Columbia Shoes is going to pay the highest amount. They're going to bid the highest for both of those celebrities. And this is why. They've done it in the past. Columbia has proven that they're willing to pay obscene amounts of money for the specific celebrities that they want. Although Michelle Wie was not given in the homework, we included her in this analysis because Michelle Wie was dropped by her previous company. So when you look at all the companies that are in the running, the company that dropped her, Company F, obviously isn't going to pick her up this next year. So we know that they're not going to get her. We've already talked about several other companies that have bid on other celebrities. One company we haven't talked a lot about is Company G. That's Great Outdoor Shoes, and they do make some great outdoor shoes, and they have the capability to make a lot of them, but what they haven't been able to do so far is unleash their potential productive capability. So they have the potential of creating a lot of supply, but not the demand to meet it. So we think that they're going to come out of the woodwork this time around and bid $12,000 for Michelle Wie to help get their numbers up and help get their demand up as well. Now the last celebrity I want to talk about is Nick Shaven. So Nick Shaven is kind of a middle of the road celebrity. He's somewhere in between Danica and Tiger. So as far as the cost that we anticipate him to sell for, we think it's going to be somewhere between Danica and Tiger, so about $8,000. Now which company is going to be the high bid for Nick Shaven? That's a little bit more difficult to answer. So first of all, you look at what companies are in the running. So who has the money and who's been willing to bid on and win celebrities in the past. One of those companies is Team Hyperfit. They took Federer last year, but Federer's contract's only year to year, so he's up again. We think that Team Hyperfit is going to be the one to actually put the money in and win Nick Shaven.